Hey guys, so I've downloaded this application to record videos and also the audio. So I'm trying this for the first time. Let's hope this works good. So now we're going to look at creating a Windows Forms app based on the assignment 3 that you have, where we have to build a calculator. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a small calculator and then you know give it upload the code in Blackboard so that you can access it. And in this video I'll show you what I'm doing and the concepts that we have applied. Now this is a different version of Visual Studio than we have in the class. So this is Visual Studio 2017. There's just one version behind, so your Visual Studio may seem slightly different than this one. So I'm using my personal machine, and this is what I have here. So anyway, let's go and create a Windows Form app, and I'm just going to call it Calculator. Alright, let me just go and create it. So as you can see, after some time it's going to come up. Alright, so now we have a form. So if you have already taken a look at the assignment, you will see that you have to build a basic form, and it's kind of a toolbar. So one of the first things you want to do is select this form and change it so that it's not resizable. So what we go here and set the border property. Now my machine is not exactly the fastest machine in the block, so please bear with me here. Form border style, we'll set it to oops, let's call it a fixed single of fixed dialog is okay. Actually, let's just call it fixed tool window. This is how a calculator may look like. So yeah, this looks good. So nobody can resize. As that you can see, the maximize and minimize buttons have automatically gone. Now let's go and add some common controls here. So one thing you need is a text box. This is where the numbers will be displayed. So I'll put the text box there, and let's make it a multi-line, or actually let's increase the font size. So let's increase the font size, so let's double a little, maybe a little longer. I can make it bold, maybe let's make that true. Now in this calculator I'll only add like 3 buttons and just one operation called add. I mean, if I do anything more than that, I'll pretty much be doing the assignment, so don't want to do that. And let's add, you can, by the way, actually select a button, just say copy, and you can right place paste, so this way you don't have to go to the toolbox every time. So let's call this button 1. It's already called button 1, so let's change the text value to 1. Let's call this button 2, and let's do this operation as plus. Now let's increase the font. This is not looking too good, so let's make it a little high. Increase the size to maybe 12 and make it bold. That looking much better there. And do the same for the plus, which is 12, and bold is equal to true. Now in your calculator assignment, you may see the buttons are like next to each other, so you may just want to fix the border like so that they come next to each other. Plus will be similar here. And let's change the title of this thing called calculator. Alright, So now let's just run the code and see if this comes up. So once you start, the code is going to compile and a form should come up. Alright, I just paused the video because it was taking some while to come up. Anyway, now the calculator form has come up. As you can see, we can enter text box numbers directly here, but this is not what we want, right? We want when we press the buttons here, then the number should come. Another thing is, if you observe, the calculator form came up on the left side. We also don't want to do that. We want it in the center of the screen. So now let's change some of the properties. So first we go to the text box and make it not editable. This will prevent anybody from clicking. So this is one property you can use when nobody can type on the text box, which is called enabled. We go back to the border and set up a startup position, which is center of the screen. Alright, now let's run this again. There we go, the calculator came up. Now you can see this thing is coming as disabled, so nobody can edit this. Of course, the background is coming little gray, so we can actually change the background property of the text box. Let's give it explicitly a white background. Let's see how this comes up. So as you can see, now it's with a white background and you can't even edit it. Alright, now let's proceed further. So as part of your assignment, you were expected to create two classes. So one will be a basic math class that will have some of your functions like add, multiply, division and subtract. And then you'll also create an advanced math class, which is what you have to use, where you'll derive it from the C base math class. So let's first create our basic math class. Now I'm only going to add one function just for add. So let's call base math. And once this comes up, let's make sure this is public. And then we will add a function. Now for this calculator, you can just return int, don't worry about decimal values. So let's create sum. So we take int a and int b, and all we do is return a plus b. Alright, so this is our classes built. Now how do we do the computations? So go back to the form, right click and say view code. Now this is the code that's going on. Now we also need events, like every time somebody presses 1 and 2 and plus, we should be doing some action. So let's go ahead. Actually, I want to change the name of this button just to make it a little bit easier. So this is button plus, this is button 1, and this is button 2. That's good. So let's double click on button 1. Let's double click on button 2. And let's click here on button plus. Now you can also right click and create an event, but I just showed you the simplest way, even though it takes a little bit of time. Alright, now what we have to do, remember that the form itself is a class, right? And here you can see this is being inherited from a form class which is provided by Microsoft. It's part of the .NET system. So first let's create a public variable, a private variable that stores the text string. So what we need to do, anytime somebody presses 1 or 2, we need to display that number in the text box. By the way, what is the variable name of the text box? Let's go and verify that. That's text box 1. So let's go back. When user presses 1, we want text box 1 dot text is equal to 1. Now when the user presses 2, we want text box dot text equal to 2. Now there's a little flaw in this, but I will discuss that later. Now once we do button plus, now in button plus you have to create an instance of the base math class. Let's just use this variable here and say math.sum. Now here's the thing, when we pressed plus, if we take the number that is the user enters directly from text box, that's only one number, right? So when somebody presses 1, so imagine if you are using this calculator, I'll just open up the Windows calculator here. So when I press 7 and then when I press plus, now this calculator is behaving a little different than what we want. Ours is much more simpler. Plus 8. So we want anytime somebody presses plus that the previous number that was displayed here should get stored into a variable. So we have to do that. So let's do this. Let's create a private variable. Private int value 1, and let's create another one called value 2. And whenever user presses the plus button, we say value 1 is equal to text box 1.text. And actually we have to convert it because it's a string value. Alright, so we have value 1. Now what about value 2? So the way we want it to be operated is, if you go back on the design, when the user presses 1, it should display a 1 here. Then when the user presses plus, we will want the number, the text box to be cleared out so that we can enter 2. So here's the thing, we also need an equal to button. So let's create this as an equal to button. Just copy this, and now we go back and call this button equal. Now things will become much easier. So once we press equal to, whatever number is displayed on the text box becomes value 2. Again, we have to convert this to an int. And now here's the thing, the actual calculation will, this is a small t here, the actual calculation now will be done in the equal to class, not in the plus class. In the plus button, sorry. Text box 2 dot, sorry, it's only one text box. And now what we do is simply the value 1 comma value 2. We are calling a function to compute this value, and then we will want to display the output in our main text box 1.text is equal to math.sum. Oh, so this is a numeric value, so we need to convert this to a string. Now you can also use the dot string function that is available for integers, but for the sake of consistency I have done this. Alright, let's see. Every time I press 1, text box 1 will be equal to 1. When I press 2, it will be equal to 2. But then when I press the plus button, it will store the value of whatever was entered in the text box. So now let's run this code. Let's press 1. Alright, we got 1. And let's press 2. We got 2. Alright, so but we didn't press the plus button here. So let's try it again. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Excellent. That's exactly what we want. Now another thing I'll want to do here is that when we press 1, say plus 1, that should be 2. Now if we type here 1 and just press plus, I want this to be cleared so that we can tell the user you can enter another number here. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be very simple. All we have to do is set the text box. The text is equal to blank. Alright, now let's run this code. So we have 1 plus this thing became blank, 2 is equal to 3. So that gives you a very good basic idea of what you have to do. Now what I'll do, I'll create another video where I'll upload or create an advanced math function and implement some other functionality to give you an idea how we do the inheritance. But this is the main idea, how we go ahead and build a calculator program. Now there is one issue with this which I had mentioned earlier. What if you press 1 and 2? So which means right now your calculator can only do 1-digit computation at a time, but this is not what we need. So think about how we can add or allow the calculator to have multiple numbers in them, and think about it. We can have a discussion on the Blackboard forums, and then I'll also show it to you, give you an idea how we can do that. Now the good thing is I will also upload this code in Blackboard, so you can watch the video as well as reference the code. Alright, till we see each other later through a video. Bye.